Welcome into Argo Sports Weekly, where we talk all things Argonaut athletics, focusing on men's and women's basketball. And we start with the ladies as we welcome in Argonaut women's head coach Stephanie Lawrence-Shelton. Coach, how you doing?
I'm great.
You should be, coming off a couple nice wins.
Very good week this week.
And Tuskegee and Columbus State, two teams that really kind of tested you in different ways as well.
Very athletic teams. High scores on both of those teams. They had some really great players that could cause us problems, but in the end, we were able to kind of handle our business.
All right, let's take a look first at Tuskegee. This was a team that came out of the gate, punched you in the mouth, but then you got going. Anna Hall, another nice game. In fact, it wasn't just a nice game, it was her second triple-double. She finished with 10 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists.
You know, she's having an amazing season. And, we've talked about that assist category being the one category that she can't do by herself. But she's finding open teammates and able to distribute the ball in positions where they can score.
She was doing a little bit of everything. And then Danielle Norquist, a nice game as well. How about Danielle off the bench, 18 points?
Yeah, welcome back, Danielle. That's the Danielle that we saw the first two games of the season. And I'm hoping that she can, weather it and keep it going for the rest of the season.
Half a dozen rebounds as well. Then Haley Neiman, she's just been fun to watch because she can get it done inside and outside, knocking down threes. There you see her hitting it in the low post. And then Tony Brewer also down low getting it done. You know,
we have a lot of great power players in the paint for us, and because they can stretch it out to the perimeter, it helps us be successful.
And then a lot of times you get somebody down low, they collapse, open up Belle Bistrow on the outside, and boy, when she's open, she doesn't miss many. You know, she's number one in three-point shooting categories right now in the GSC, so she's having a tremendous year early. And it showed against Tuskegee. Ended up with 12 points, and a lot of those, of course, again, beyond three. Just a lot of things that went well. You mentioned it. Tuskegee challenged you guys early on. It looked like you made the adjustment. What'd you have to do?
We just had to call a timeout. They started the game hitting 5 shots in a row, and I knew they weren't capable of holding that kind of productivity on offense, but we needed to amp up our defense. Our team needed to be encouraged that we were taking some good shots on offense. We needed to continue to do that, and the game would even out at some point, and it did.
If only it were that easy to just always call a timeout automatically, the switch flips, right?
You know, if only it were that easy.
Well, let's take a look then at Columbus State. This one also kind of tricky, back and forth. You guys win at 79-73. Tony Brewer, again, a nice game for her. But Haley Neiman getting it done early, 25 points, and a lot of those were late.
Oh, yeah. In that fourth quarter, we entered the fourth quarter being 9 points down, and we had to make a huge comeback. Haley scored 17 of her 25 in that fourth quarter to help our team win.
Belle Bistrow, the run-out layup, and then the three there. Belle finished with 4-3. She was 4 of 11 from outside for 18 points. You mentioned Haley Neiman, 25 points for her. But Tony Brewer, big-time double-double, 17 and 18 for Tony.
And some of those points for Tony were in critical moments, and she was able to help us cut into that lead.
I felt like some of the rebounds were pretty critical for her as well. This is a team, really, Columbus State, known for their rebounding, one of the tops in the nation, but you guys are right there with them.
Yeah, and that's one of our strengths too. But having somebody like Tony on the boards for us and getting those rebounds, I mean, especially late in the game, helping us control the tempo and helping us control that end of the floor, big minutes for her.
When you can out-rebound a team like that, and you're talking about Tony being a big part of that, how much does that mean for your team? I mean, is that part of your identity? I know we've talked a lot about the defense. Was the rebounding right there with it? Well,
if you play great defense, hopefully you're forcing your opponents into a more difficult shot than what they normally want to take. And when you do that, you're hoping that they miss that shot. And if they miss the shot, you don't want to give them that second easier opportunity. So being able to be a great rebounding team and staying on the boards helps your defense be more efficient, but it also, on the other end, helps your offense be more efficient. Because sometimes when you're taking those good shots for yourself, sometimes they don't always go in. So having second and third opportunities on the offensive end is great too.
It seems like we're always talking about, when we're talking about rebounding mostly on the defensive side, what's the key to being effective at rebounding on the offensive side?
Rebounding on the offensive side takes a lot of guts and a lot of effort. For us, our offense is spread out. We're playing a little bit of a 5-out or a 4-around-1 set this year. And so for our players who have to get in the paint and start rebounding, they've got to go a long distance. They can easily bail out and just run back on defense, but we want them on the boards. We want them crashing and getting opportunities, and if they're doing that, they're playing with a lot of heart.
We talked about rebounding. I want to talk about the turnovers because that's a team that forces a lot of turnovers, and they did that day, but you were able to weather that storm. How?
Oh, man, I think just as we come in at halftime, really talked about making some adjustments, calming down, how to protect the ball a little bit better, how to play a little bit tougher. In the first half, we did a lot of dribble entry offenses, which was causing us problems. We made the adjustment at halftime to try to enter the ball with a pass to the wing or to a forward versus dribble entry into the offense, and I think that helped us settle down a little bit better.
All right, well, back into the conference grind coming up. You've started with UAH this Saturday. And then Lee, after that on Monday, we'll preview that more with head coach Stephanie Lawrence-Yelton when we come back on Argo Sports Weekly here on the UWF Sports Network.
You can't stop it. That undeniable charge. So bright, so loud. It rips through the clutches of mediocrity. It breaks down walls, blazes past old ways of thinking. It's creativity. Pure electric energy. What will you do with it? The University of West Florida. No limits.
Just go do it. Go do it. If you're not in control, then who is? Live above the influence.
Mercy Ships is bringing services to countries that would otherwise never be able to access those services.
We just see people that need help. You realise that they have no way of getting help, and I want them to know that they're loved.
Water. It's life's most basic need. But there's a water crisis in our world right now. Nearly 1 billion people live without clean drinking water. About every 19 seconds, a mother loses one of her children to a water-related illness. The water crisis is vast, but we can solve it. Just $20 can provide one person with access to a clean water project in their village. CharityWater.org. Join us.
Welcome back to Argo Sports Weekly. We're talking women's basketball with women's head coach Stephanie Lawrence-Yelton, and you've got two big conference games coming up. Conference games the rest of the way. Why not jump right into the gauntlet? UAH and Lee both on the road. This is going to be a tough stretch.
It is going to be a tough stretch. Number one, we're coming off exam week, so our players are immersed right now into academics. And then both of those are on the road, two very challenging places to play. And, we'll kind of see what we do. And, of course, on the back end is Christmas break. Mm-hmm. So we've got a lot of young players on our team this year. So we're hoping that they don't clock out on us and start Christmas break early, but we can finish this stretch through the weekend and then let them go.
It's on the heels of 5 games at home, too, which is nice. But sometimes do you fear... Boy, it's been forever since we've been on the road. Did they forget how to go on the road?
I'm hoping they don't. But we started the season with 2 big weekends on the road traveling. So our team has that experience. They know what to expect on the road. But like I said, we've got a few challenges with exams and then with Christmas break coming up of staying focused on basketball through the stretch.
And you talk about UAH and Lee, both very tough teams. So let's start with UAH. They're a team that's right at the top of the conference. I know we're only a couple of conference games in right now, but they've got some scores there as well. What makes them so tough?
They're balanced. They have balanced scoring. They've got some great shooters, but they're really attacking the glass hard this year. So they're one of the top teams in field goal percentage in women's basketball in the GSC this year, but not at the 3-point field goal percentage like they have been in the past. So we've got to really contain some dribblers. We've got to stop them attacking, and then we've got to keep them off the glass.
They haven't been home much this year. Does that change things?
Yeah, I think it changes. You know, their fans are super supportive. They've got a great fan base there in Huntsville. They usually play well at home. So, yeah, it's going to be a hard day.
All right, Erin Saunders is their leading scorer. She's 3rd in the GSC. How do you neutralize her?
You know, we've got to play very good individual defense. We've got to be able to contain her on the drive. We've got to be able to not allow her just to get over anxious, over fired up. I think very much how we did against Tuskegee. She comes out and hits a couple of quick shots, and we've got to call a timeout and try to, get past that segment and move forward.
All right, then you got Lee a couple of days later on Monday. That's a tough one. What do they do well?
Oh, man, Lee's going to spread you out. They live and die by that three-point line. But they also have a good post player inside. She's young, but she's very talented. But again, another hard place to play. That gym's going to be packed. It's going to be a great day for them with basketball. They're doing a great promotion for that game, so it's going to be a challenge.
I feel like whenever you say they live and die by the three, that just plays into your hand because you guys defend the three-point line so well. Is that the case?
We do. We try to defend the three. We try to defend the paint, which I think we've got to get better at this season. Our defense, we're trying to force those non-paint twos, those pull-up jump shots, those 15-foot jump shots and 17-foot jump shots. If we can force teams to take shots out of their rhythm and out of where they really practice, we think our defense is doing well, and that's something that we've got to continue to get better at.
Well, your defense has done a nice job, but their defense is tops in the GSC, so they're going to try to do some of that against you guys, right? How do you counter that?
We've got to play tough. They are an aggressive team. They play hard. It's a challenge when you go against Lee because you've got to play both ends of the floor very well to beat them on their home floor.
It looks like they do a pretty good job of turning the ball over as well, so it's certainly going to be a tough one. Good luck to you guys this weekend.
Thank you.
All right, it's going to be a challenge, but no doubt the Argos will be up to the test. We're going to learn about Belle Bistrow and Jarrett Henderson when we come back. You're watching Argo Sports Weekly on the UWF Sports Network.
You can't stop it. That undeniable charge. A thunderous spark. So bright. So loud. It cuts through clutter. Rips through the clutches of mediocrity. It breaks down walls. Tears down barriers. And blazes past old ways of thinking. It demands to be seen, heard, and understood. It's creativity. Pure electric energy. What will you do with it? The University of West Florida. No limits.
Facing life's difficulties takes strength and determination. Whether it's physical challenges or struggles you can't see, it takes strength to ask for help when you need it. Learn how other veterans have reached out and hear their stories of strength and recovery at maketheconnection.net.
Welcome back to Argo Sports Weekly. Following the holiday break, baseball will start practicing. Hard to believe, but it's right around the corner. They just wrapped up their fall season, and head coach Mike Jeffcoat likes where his team's at heading into the spring.
Well, I really like this team. I like the components of the new guys we brought in to fit in with a lot of the returning guys we have back this year. But this year's club, I think, has learned a lot. I've really seen them really find a niche, especially the seniors and returning guys, and really seeing the hunger and the daily things that they're doing and their behaviors. You can see that they're looking at the big picture. We did a lot of challenging things, and we want to do that because we want our guys to feel like they've got investment, to feel like they've got ownership of this program, of this university. A lot of programs do the same thing, but you got to find ways and be creative to make sure you're building that culture and setting a standard so they can represent our university and our program well. We've got guys in the right places. We hope we can find the right combination. We hope we can keep guys engaged. We want to keep these guys pulling on the rope in the same direction for a long period of time. We've got a month off here during December, and we want them to continue working out, but it kind of gives them a break from baseball a little bit. But we get back to school January 7th and open up with Florida Southern on February 1st. So you're looking at 3.5 weeks, and those guys know they got to come back in pretty good shape in January and hopefully have those goals out in front of them, and we can strive to get them this year.
Belle Bistrow has been lighting it up from 3 for the Argo women's team, but get to know her on a more personal level. Will Kennedy chased her down for 60 seconds with Belle Bistrow.
It's time for another 60 Seconds With, and this time we're with Belle Bistrow, who's a senior here on the UWF women's basketball team. So we get to know you a little bit, talk about things that are not necessarily basketball related. Where are you from?
I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. I prefer the Gulf Coast. The sand is super powdery and the water's clear and beautiful. I love it here.
So you're here, you're a senior this year. You know, what kind of classes over the course of your academic career? What do you enjoy taking? What are the things that attract you to the course?
Well, I'm criminal justice, so I love taking criminal justice classes, and then I also am into photography, so I try and take some of those, so that's like really fun for me.
A little bit of a creative side?
Yes.
What kind of other things do you like to do away from basketball, away from taking classes?
Well, I like to take pictures of people and scenery around here. It's very pretty, and I also like to thrift. I'm a big thrifter, so I love that.
All right, so we hit some of the shops to kind of see what's happening out there.
Me and Tony always go thrifting. So.
The things we learned. This has been 60 Seconds with Belle Bistrow.
Well, now you know all there is to know about Belle Bistrow, so now let's get to know Jarrett Henderson. He is not just the Argos' third leading scorer, but he's also having a fine season for UWF, and he joins us in studio now. Jarrett, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me here.
Hey, great to have you here. You grew up in Texas. What San Marcos, Texas?
San Marcos, Texas.
What do you guys do for fun there in San Marcos?
We have a park called Sewell Park. A lot of tubing goes on down there. There's Texas State. That's a lot to do up there, and that's about it. It's a small little city, so.
You say you do a lot of tubing?
Yes, sir.
You just float down the river?
Yes, sir.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah,
all right, down here you float down a river, you might have to scrap with an alligator. Yeah. Do you have anything like that down there?
No, sir. No, sir.
All right. Good deal. Now, growing up, I know that you were a big fan of SpongeBob. Do you have a favorite episode?
It's a whole lot. I can't really pick one. I used to watch it with my sister a lot, so I mean, it's just too many episodes. I can't really pick one.
Well, I've heard Doodle Bob is a favorite among some of the fans. Okay, all right. Well, just making sure. You grew up not just playing basketball. You also played soccer. What led you to give up soccer and just chase basketball?
Wasn't really what I loved. I just continue on with playing basketball. It was just a conditioning.
At what point did you realize, hey, this basketball thing, this may pay for my education one day?
In high school, definitely in high school. I was grinding, so that really paved the way for me to grow.
What's next? I mean, do you have aspirations? You're in your senior year. Do you have aspirations to play beyond this?
Definitely, yes, sir. Definitely, that's the goal.
When you look at this season, you're having a fine season. You look at the group that was with you last year. How much did you learn from that talented group of seniors?
Oh yeah, it was fun. It was definitely fun to play with them last year. They knew how to lead a team, really. And they just, they put it in seniors, me, Sean, and Henry, to lead the team. So that's what we're trying to do right now.
Long ways to go this season. Good luck the rest of the way. Thanks so much for stopping by. Appreciate it.
No problem. No problem.
That's Jarrett Henderson joining us this week on Argo Sports Weekly. We talk men's basketball with head coach Jeff Burkhammer when we come back on the UWF Sports Network.
You can't stop it. That undeniable charge. So bright, so loud. It rips through the clutches of mediocrity. It breaks down walls, blazes past old ways of thinking. It's creativity, pure electric energy. What will you do with it? The University of West Florida, no limits.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Being a champion takes more than talent, more than the perfect pass, more than using your head. Being a champion takes the spirit to always push harder, the ability to overcome any hurdle, and the fire to be the best. Welcome to Division II, where the pursuit is yours to create. And the question isn't, can you do it? It's, will you?
Welcome back into Argo Sports Weekly, and we welcome in now Argonaut men's basketball coach Jeff Burkhammer. Coach, I know it was a tough weekend against some good competition in Atlanta. That competition kind of helps build a team at this juncture. What was it like down there?
Well, it was two winnable games, two games we led at halftime. disappointing losses. I had a couple stretches in the second half. We just didn't play well enough to win. And you're playing against teams that are 7-1 and 6-2 on the year. So you can't have those stretches. And hopefully we'll learn from these things and continue to get better.
Morehouse, that's a gym that you probably never want to go back to, I'm guessing.
Only if we have to play in the NCAA tournament. Other than that, we're probably not going back there.
Tough place to play. And let's talk about the Morehouse game as we take a peek at the highlights from this one. You get a nice dunk there from Jarrett Henderson right out of the gate. And then Henderson again down to the post. He ended up with a fairly decent game here, 14 points, 12 rebounds.
He had a pretty good weekend. I thought Jarrett gave us what he should give us, athleticism, energy, and really played hard.
Rashawn's been a big scorer all season long. That was a deep three that he knocked down there, and then doing some work in the post area.
Yeah, he's had to score a little bit more than really we need him to, but we've struggled scoring. So he's kind of taken it upon himself to try to make some plays, and it's taken away a little bit from his assist turnover deal, but he has scored some.
Anthony Gomes drills the three, then the little runner, and then again from outside, Anthony Gomes, nice game there, but in the end it was Morehouse that prevailed in this one, 72-60 on their home floor. When you size this game up, I know it was tough. You had the lead at halftime. How do you kind of break that one down?
Well, just it's kind of what we've gone through in most of our games this year. We've just had some stretch in the game where we've given up a 9-0 run, a 12-2 run, and not being able to get back from that. And it's usually happened in the second half, somewhere midway through the second half, that we've got to do a little bit better job during that time.
When you look at this and you talk about the runs late in the game, how do you kind of overcome that? How do you find a way to get past that, get over the hurdle, and turn some of these into wins?
Well, we did a lot of breakdowns last week, just in situational type stuff. Played 4-minute games, played under 4-minute games, and the last time out, just different things in situations, and hopefully they'll get more comfortable playing in those.
Well, as we talk about sometimes these tournament settings, you talked about it earlier on the show that you want to go sometimes from game to game, so that way it simulates the tournament. You go from one game one day right back at it against Lane the next day, and again, kind of a tough day here, but John Brown knocking down a three.
Well, we really started the game poorly. We're 3 of 16 to start the game, and we're still in it. The next thing you know, we're ahead in the first half, and in the half up 7, and in pretty good shape going into the second half, and kind of the same thing happens. We have a lapse one time in the second half, and it really costs us.
He had been quiet, but broke out a little bit. John Brown, 16 points in this game. Nice acrobatic play. Then Rashawn Benson knocking down the layup, then a pull-up jumper for Benson. Again, 14 more points for him. Again, probably relying on him, as you mentioned, to do more scoring than you'd like.
Yeah, probably more scoring than we like, but Rashawn's a veteran guy. He's going to try to do what he can to help us win. John Brown had a really good game coming off a poor game, so glad to see him come back and play well. I thought Henderson really gave us a lot of energy again. So we're getting some good efforts. We just need more from different guys.
I know you guys have been a little banged up. Do you feel like you're starting to get a little more healthy now?
No, not really. We're still beat up, and still, some guys we're not going to get back. Some guys are in and out of lineups because of injuries. And I mean, heck, we had a guy get hurt in a shoot around the other day. So, I mean, we find ways to get hurt right now, it seems.
Wow, Jarrett Henderson in that game, 14 points, 12 rebounds. Again, you talked about him having a good weekend. Nice to see him kind of break out. Is he starting to hit his stride a little bit?
Yeah, he's playing well. He's doing what he can do, and that's give us energy. Play with his athleticism, make plays to the rim off the bounce, rebound the ball, run the floor. He's doing the things that he needs to do to help us.
I know it's a tough, frustrating stretch for you right now. Again, another lead at half. When you look at these games, you're in every one of them that you've lost so far this season. That probably enhances the frustration a little bit, but are you able to take a step back and go, well, at least we're right there and not getting blown out? Because sometimes when you're close, right, it's the little adjustments that you can make that next step.
Well, you hope so. You hope so, but we've lost every one of them. And, you want to win 2 or 3 of those, and your record is different. You feel better about what's going on, but it's been frustrating. It's been frustrating losing those games. I'm sure our players are frustrated just as the coaching staff is, and we got to continue to work to get better every day and see if we can find a way to break through.
Conference games coming up, back into conference play with some tough ones against UAH. And then also on the schedule, right after UAH, it's Lee. Those are both on the road. We'll talk about those with Coach Berkhammer when we come back on the UWF Sports Network.
You can't stop it. That undeniable charge. So bright, so loud. It rips through the clutches of mediocrity. It breaks down walls, blazes past old ways of thinking. It's creativity, pure electric energy. What will you do with it? The University of West Florida. No limits.
Water. It's life's most basic need. But there's a water crisis in our world right now. Nearly 1 billion people live without clean drinking water. About every 19 seconds, a mother loses one of her children to a water-related illness. The water crisis is vast, but we can solve it. Just $20 can provide one person with access to a clean water project in their village. CharityWater.org. Join us.
Welcome back into Argo Sports Weekly as we wrap things up, looking ahead. UAH and Lee on the horizon for both the men's and the women's team. We've already talked to Coach Yelton about her team's matchup. Now let's talk to Burkhammer about it. Coach, I know it's going to be a tough stretch. You've got UAH, Lee, both tough places to play. So when you look ahead to this weekend, early next week, how do you size these two up?
Well, you hope we continue to grow because these are going to be two tough games. We've struggled on the road with these two teams the last 3 years. And both good teams, both well coached, hard to play against. Both teams spread you, a lot of movement, good three-point shooters, and we'll have to play well either game to have a chance to win.
Let's start with UAH. This is a team that loves to shoot the three, and they're good at it. So do you mix some things up? Do you give them some different looks that maybe you haven't used this year to try to offset that?
Well, our zone in the past has bothered them some, but we'll have to mix some things up, maybe show them some different looks, not let them be comfortable running what they run, because if you do, they are good at it. So we'll have to do a good job of maybe throwing some different things at them and making them have to think a little bit.
When you have a team like that is so good from outside, are you able to make them one-dimensional at all? What are some things you can do? I know you talked about the zone, mixing that up, but does that mean they're a little easier to defend than a team that can just get it inside to a big and just lay it in?
Well, if you play zone, you take away some options. They have fewer things that they can do. And against man, they're going to run a lot of back cuts, a lot of screening actions, a lot of penetration with the dribble to pitch out to threes if you help. So you have a lot more things to guard. So we'll just change it up and see how the game's going and go with what's working best.
They've got the sixth leading scorer in the GSC. Is that a guy you can kind of eliminate and maybe focus on everybody else, or is that?
Yeah, we've done a pretty good job of taking out some of the better players on other teams and not allowing them to have big games against us. And unfortunately, some other guys have had better games. Even guys off the bench have had like career games against us. But we've been able to take out some of the best players, and we'll, I'm sure, focus a little bit on these guys that seem to be their better scorers.
Sam Orf is that guy for UAH. What are some other threats that they have?
Well, I think just their system. You know, playing against their system is a big thing. You've got to do a great job of being in the right position. You've got to communicate well. They'll do some things that give us some problems, and we'll need to spend next few days really preparing for it.
Now let's look at Lee. You were mentioning to me during the break the two are very similar. So how do you size them up?
Yeah, Lee plays a lot like Huntsville. I mean, they're going to spread you and back cut you and screen you, and they use their big guys a little bit more on the perimeter for reversals and to get the ball from side to side, that type of thing. But very similar teams. Our preparation for both those teams would be alike. So then you just look at personnel and figure out how you're going to guard individual players.
It's a tough stretch right now. There's no mistaking that. You're on the road right now. You've only got one more home game before the end of the calendar year. How big is this stretch? I know it's still early in the conference season, but how big are these games?
Well, the reason they become so big is we gave away 2 home games in the conference that we had chances to win. Then we went on the road and lost 2 games we had chances to win. So now these games become magnified and it becomes tougher. Knowing we're going into Christmas after this, then you come back, you got 1 game before you go to Valdosta. So it's a tough stretch. We have not done well so far in it, and hopefully we'll continue to improve and play better.
You're in the midst of a fairly lengthy stretch without games, especially this part of the schedule. You've got almost a week off before you play again. How do you handle this time? How do you handle this break?
Well, you let guys work on academic stuff. You let them get their finals taken care of. Then you concentrate on playing these 2 games. They get a break after that for about 10 days, which is a pretty long break for most basketball teams, and we come back and we got to play within 3 days. So big stretch coming up. We'll see how we do.
All right, Coach. Well, I know it's going to be a tough stretch. Good luck. A couple of tough ones on the road, and hopefully we'll talk to you after a couple of wins next week.
Be great.
All right, that is Argonaut head men's basketball coach Jeff Burkhammer. They are on the road, so are the women, but don't worry, you can still stay up to date with all things Argos at GoArgos.com.
Argos.com. That's all the time we have for Jarrett Henderson, also Stephanie Lawrence Yelton, and Jeff Burkhammer. I'm Tommy Thrall. Thanks to our entire crew, and thank you for watching. This has been Argo Sports Weekly on the UWF Sports Network.